taberna de Moe, la cuna de la cerveza.
Let me introduce to you one of the greatest singers ever, and a songwriter also, Mr. Paul Carrack. Welcome.
Pablo, ¿qué tal?
Yeah, you speak Spanish also.
No, no, that's everything. Todos.
Oh, awesome. Very good. Very good. So I'm going to start with the first question. Let's talk about your beginnings. When was the first time you get in touch with music?
Well, as a young child, I was very interested in music. I like music. My father and his family were quite musical, and but I never had the opportunity for any musical training, because we lived in a small place. We lived in the back of a store.
Wow.
So we had the one room and the two rooms upstairs for bedrooms and an attic. So there was no room for a piano or anything like that. But in this attic, there were some old bits of drums that my father used to play. And I used to go up in the attic and bang along to records.
Awesome.
You know, so, and people said I remember when I was young, people would say I had a nice voice, you know, I would sing, but I didn't sing in bands until I was maybe 20, 22, something like that.
Wow. Let's talk about your influences, your music influences. Who were the musicians that influenced you the most?
Well, I also have an older brother, 4 years older, who was also interested in music and played a guitar. But in the early days of rock and roll, there was skiffle music, a guy called Lonnie Donegan in England. And I loved the rock and roll acts like Elvis, the Everly Brothers. And then there was an English band called The Shadows, who were a guitar band, instrumental. They were the backing band for a guy called Cliff Richard, who's very famous in the UK. But they were the backing. I wasn't so keen on Cliff, but I love The Shadows, and they played instrumentals. I'm in a little band at school playing Shadows kind of songs. And then it was Liverpool, the Beatles.
Wow.
The Beatles, Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Searchers, the Merseys. I saw all these bands. I grew up in a small town in, a town called Sheffield in the north of England. And in the city hall there, the theatre, saw everybody there. I saw the Beatles, the Stones, Bob Dylan, Chuck Berry. Everybody came through.
Wow.
That was fantastic. Sorry, in my teenage years, I was very much love soul music, especially Motown and all those great singers and the great songs. Yeah.
How was your experience playing in the bands Warm Dust and Ace?
Well, Warm Dust was it was very interesting times. This was the late 60s. And we were kind of a progressive rock type band.
Yeah.
But I think it's all, we were really believed it, and we loved it, but it was pretty pretentious, really, to be honest. You know, it was, we weren't, it wasn't that good. I don't have any Warm Dust records myself. But out of Warm Dust, a couple of the guys who were members of Warm Dust, they formed the band Ace as a fun band, just to play in the bars and pubs. And I was doing nothing. I got a job in a garage, cleaning cars.
Wow.
And they got in touch with me. They said, look, we're forming a band and it'd be great to have keyboards. So I joined, and that's when I started writing songs, really.
How did you get the call from Mike Rutherford, the guitar player from Genesis, to get with the band Mike and the Mechanics?
Yeah. Well, Mike is the guitar player in Genesis, and at this time, sort of mid-80s, Phil Collins, who was the drummer in Genesis, his career went crazy. Yeah. And, he was very busy with that. And I think Mike decided he wanted to make a solo album. He'd made some other solo albums. But he decided he was going to give it a band name. He was going to call it Mike and the Mechanics. Okay, so anyhow, so he started recording tracks with various musicians, and Mike decided he wasn't going to sing. So Mike was writing songs with a guy called B.A. Robertson, a songwriter. And I was contacted by B.A. one day. He wanted me to sing a song that he had written that he was pitching to a movie. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay. I didn't know him. I'd never met him. I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So I went along, sang the song for him. And then he said, oh, by the way, I'm writing with Mike Rutherford. We're making an album. Would you want to come down and sing on it? So I said, sure. And I went down to the studio one day. I put on the headphones, and they had a track running. And it was, okay, didn't have any words. Just sing, can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Okay, so and they said, and then just blues away, So I put the headphones on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? And then they said, oh, that sounds great. So BA said, okay, I'll write some lyrics and come back next week and we'll record it.
Wow.
And so that was my introduction.
Amazing. Mike and the Mechanics is one of my favorite all-time bands.
Really?
I've been hearing that band since I was 14 years old, back in 94. So your voice is like amazing.
Oh, thanks.
If you have to pick 3 songs from Mike and the Mechanics, which songs would you choose? In 1986, you joined Roger Waters, the Roger Waters band. How was your experience playing and touring with Roger? And which highlights can you tell us from that particular time? I remember you were playing keyboards, and I saw many. I'm a huge fan of Pink Floyd, by the way. And we're singing "Money," playing keyboards. And amazing job.
Thank you.
With great musicians, by the way.
You sure? Yeah, it was great. I mean, I can't remember how it came about, but I lived at the time. I lived quite near to Roger, mm-hmm. and he had kind of left Pink Floyd. I met him before that, but I mean, he left Pink Floyd and he was doing this project called Radio K.A.O.S.
Yeah, I have the album.
Yeah, which is kind of a concept album, and he was putting a band together, and I think I knew a couple of the guys in the band, and they suggested, that I come along and play keyboard. So it was fantastic, actually. It was a difficult time for Roger because he had left Pink Floyd, mm-hmm. But at the same time, we were on tour in America with Radio K.A.O.S. with Roger, playing in arenas, mm-hmm. which were quite big, 20,000 people. But Pink Floyd were also on tour, and they were playing in the football stadiums. Yeah. And Roger had the turmoil of leaving Pink Floyd, but I always really liked Roger, and I think he likes me because he has a lot of people feel insecure around him because he has a very dark sense of humor, and he's quite serious about his music.
Yeah,
you know, but he's also very funny. Yeah. And I think he likes me because, you know, I don't take things too seriously myself. I don't take myself seriously. And so that was great. But it was a great thing to do. But actually what was even more great and interesting was he rang me up one day sometime later and said, Paul, listen, I've got to tell you, I'm going to be putting on this show. I'm going to be putting on The Wall live
1990
in Berlin.
Berlin. Yeah.
You know, it's going to be incredible. There's going to be, you know, 250,000 people. There are going to be helicopters and cranes. And I have all these guests who are going to come and sing. I'm thinking, oh, this sounds great. This sounds fantastic. And he says, so the reason I'm calling is, do you have Huey Lewis's phone number? And I said, yeah, I do actually. But what about me? And he said, well, you're not really famous enough, you know, for this. But anyway, a few weeks later, when it was coming to the show, it's about 10 days before the show, and he called me up and he said, listen, I want you to listen to these songs. And he gave me about 6 songs. He said, I want you to listen to these songs because I might have a problem. I might need you to come over. And I said, okay. And I listened to the songs. And about 2 days before the show, he called me up and he said, listen, I want you to come out here. I want you to sing a song called Hey You. I said, okay, I'll pay attention to that one. And I flew over to Berlin, went into a rehearsal and rehearsed the song. And then the next day I was standing in front of all those people singing it.
300,000.
Well, who knows? Every year it gets more. Now they say, oh, I was 500,000. I don't know.
Yeah, and I remember when I heard that album, the Berlin 1990, and you were singing right in front of the wall. You have the wall.
Yeah.
And it was like, and your voice is like amazing. And the way you sing it, you put some different things in the song.
Yeah, I know. I always do that. Some people like that. Some people don't.
I love it. I love it. And also you sing on the song, The Tide is Turning.
Yeah.
The show was.
It's funny because, as you said, I was singing Behind the Wall. And I said, Roger, you didn't have to build that wall. I would have worn a paper bag over my head, you know, no problem. And then I also, my great moment for me, because I was a big fan of the band.
Yeah.
You know, Levon Helm and all those guys. And at the end for The Tide is Turning, I'm on the microphone sharing with the band, you know, Levon and Garth and all those. And we're standing there and there's been this amazing show, helicopters, cranes, and the walls smashed down. And I said to Levon, we should do this more often, you know.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, it'll all smooth out by Cincinnati. Well, it's probably a phrase that the band had, you know.
Oh, yeah. I remember they sung on the song, they sing on the song Mother.
Okay.
Yeah, they did a great job. So what an experience. The Wall in Berlin was, wow, yeah. Huge.
It's funny because I was back in Berlin like last year, or no, year before. And we went to the same place where that concert was, because it was no man's land.
Exactly.
It was where between the land between east and west. It was called no man's land. And then the wall came down. And I didn't even realize I was in that same place, because now it's all like hotels and parks. You know, it's amazing.
Incredible.
Anyway.
In their Eagles reunion, they made an album called
Hell Freezes Over.
Hell Freezes Over, yeah. And that was the reunion, obviously, from the Eagles. And they sing a song called Love Will Keep Us Alive. So what can you tell us about that song?
Well, before Hell Froze Over, the band were not working, because for some reason, there were disagreements and what have you. But I was contacted by Don Felder and Timothy Schmidt from the Eagles. I knew Timothy before. I'd met him when the first time I went to America, 1975. And they said, listen, we want to do something. We want to put a little band together, make some recordings and do some shows. And we'd like you to be involved. So I said, oh, okay. So I went over to California and took some songs, and we wrote some songs together, made some tapes, and everybody got very excited and said, this is going to be great. And I took with me a song that was written by Peter Vale, Jim Capaldi, and myself. We'd written this song called Love Will Keep Us Alive. And we recorded the song. You know, I'm singing, Timothy and Don are on the background vocals, and everybody got quite excited. Then, sort of out of the blue, I got a phone call saying, actually, the Eagles are getting back together.
Wow.
So that was the end of that project. But they said, but we would like to record the song Love Will Keep Us Alive with Timothy singing. We said, well, fantastic. That'd be great. So that's how that happened. I started to make albums for my own label in 2000, year 2000. I'd made a few for record companies and had difficulty with record companies, so I decided I would just do it independently. And the first album I made that way was called Satisfy My Soul.
Yeah.
And that was the first one, independent. And I started to feel that I was really being honest about my stuff. I wasn't trying to have a hit, and I wasn't being, led by a producer, because I produced it myself, So that was the first one. That's not a bad album.
Yeah.
There's an album called Good Feeling, and there's an album called I Know That Name. I think they're pretty strong songs, and they had a lot of airplay in the UK. Most recent solo album was called These Days. That was 2 or 3 years ago now. At the moment, I'm working on an album here in my studio of new stuff. So, but if you want to start with Satisfy My Soul and take it from there. Great.
Okay. So, can you tell us about your new project, the new musical project? Are you working in new songs and with?
Yeah.
Which music?
Yeah. Well, no, because actually in 2020, I had a whole year of touring lined up with my own band. And I don't know if you know, but I've been playing keyboards in Eric Clapton's band as well, also for the last 7 years. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, and not just Eric, but, Nathan, Steve Gadd. I played with just incredible world-class musicians. And so for me, it was a little bit, in the beginning, I was a little bit shy because, you know, I'm not super confident in my ability as a keyboard player. And these guys, you know, Steve, Gadd, Nathan, they can play anything in any situation, anything. So for me, I have limited kind of technical kind of and theory ability. But, you know, the thing with Eric's music is very basic, really, very simple. And it's about the feel. And I was just hoping that I would be, you know, okay in that company. And as I became more comfortable and I realized that the guys respected me and what I do and what I bring, so I think it's been very good for me in many ways to be accepted on that, in that situation. And of course Eric is just amazing, and he's very kind to his band. You know, everybody looks after really great, and it's first class travel and everything, so it is a dream situation.
So it has been a tremendous honor for me doing this interview. I can't believe that I'm talking to you, because you're one of my great inspirations since I was a child in music. I've been playing drums for over 32 years.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, all the musicians that I'm interviewing are people that I grew up, you know, people that influenced my playing, and obviously the music. And so it's been a great honor talking to you, Paul.
Oh, great. Thanks, man. I've never been to South America or, you know, Argentina or any of those places. So I'd love to go one day. Very good. Very good.
All right, Paul.
All right, then.
For everything, and we keep in touch.
No problem. See you
All
later.
right. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.